139. We're finishing this chapter today. Yeah. Karoti Vishwa Sthiti Samyamodayam Yasyepsitam Nepsitam Ikshitur Gunai Maya Yatayo Brahmate Tadashrayam Gravno Namaste Gunakarma Sakshine. Translation. Text number 38. O Lord, I do not desire the creation, maintenance, or annihilation of this material world, but you perform these activities for the conditioned souls by your creative energy. Exactly as a piece of iron moves under the influence of a lodestone, inert matter moves when you glance over the total material energy. I'll just read 39 also, since it doesn't have a purport. Pramatyadaityam prativarnanam hrideyo mam rasaya jagadadi sukara kitvagradangstare niragadudanbata kridan niveba pranatasmitam vibhum iti. My Lord, as the original boar within this universe, you fought and killed the great demon Hiranyaksha. Then you lifted me, the earth, from the Garbhodaka ocean on the end of your tusk, exactly as a sporting elephant plucks a lotus flower from the water. I bow down before you. So I'll read the purport. Text number 38, purport. Sometimes the question arises why the Supreme Lord has created this material world, which is so full of suffering for the living entities entrapped in it. The answer given herein is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not wish to create this material world just to inflict suffering on the living entities. The Supreme Lord creates this world only because the conditioned souls want to enjoy it. The workings of nature are not going on automatically. It is only because the Lord glances over the material energy that it acts in wonderful ways. Just as a lodestone causes a piece of iron to move here and there. Because the materialistic scientists and so-called Sankhya philosophers do not believe in God, they think that material nature is working without supervision. But that is not a fact. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, the creation of the material world is explained as follows. Quote, atheistic Sankhya philosophers think that the total material energy causes the cosmic manifestation, but they are wrong. Dead matter has no moving power, and therefore it cannot act independently. The Lord infuses the material ingredients with His own creative potency. Then, by the power of the Lord, matter moves and interacts. Sea waves are moved by the air is created from ether, the ether is produced by the agitation of the three modes of material nature, and the three modes of material nature interact due to the Supreme Lord's glance over the total material energy. Therefore, the background of all natural occurrences is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. This is also further explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Quote, because Prakriti, material nature, is dull and inert, it cannot actually be the cause of the material world. Lord Krishna shows His mercy by infusing His energy into the dull, inert material nature. Thus, Prakriti, by the energy of Lord Krishna, becomes the secondary cause, just as iron becomes red hot by the energy of fire. Therefore, Lord Krishna is the original cause of the cosmic manifestation. Prakriti is like the nipples on the neck of a goat, for they cannot give any milk. Thus it is a great mistake on the part of the material scientists and philosophers to think that matter moves independently. Om Jnana Timbrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. O Lord, you do not desire the creation, maintenance, or annihilation of this material world, but you perform these activities for the conditioned souls by your creative energy, exactly as a piece of iron moves under the influence of a lodestone. Inert matter moves when you glance over the total material energy. My Lord, as the original boar within this universe, you fought and killed the great demon Hiranyaksha. Then you lifted me, the earth, from the Garbhodaka ocean on the end of your tusk, exactly as a sporting elephant plucks a lotus flower from the water. I bow down before you. So, the conception of God, devoid of the personal attributes and characteristics as are given in vast quantity within the Vedic literature, tends to view God as, the all-powerful judge of everyone, who simply kind of like, sometimes they give an image of an old man at a desk. And so their perception of the supreme power, of supreme person, tends to be in a quite, a judgmental God who is watching always. But according to this verse and the purport that is described, that actually it's not exactly like that. Of course, Krishna, he says, I'm all-devouring death, I'm time, destroyer of worlds. But this material creation is actually generated, or you can say powered, by the desire of the living entities to enjoy. And the Supreme Lord simply facilitates that desire out of his own causeless mercy. There's actually a verse that exactly describes this. This is 10th canto, chapter 14, text 54. Tasmad priyatamasvatma sarvesham apidehinam tadartam eva sakalam jagadetaj characharam. Therefore it is his own self that is most dear to every embodied living being, and it is simply for the satisfaction of this self that the whole material creation of moving and non-moving entities exists. So here is stated clearly, what is the purpose of the material world? Of course, we know that there is also that Krishna is giving us the opportunity to come to him, because in this material world, specifically this earth planet, we're able to get the human form of life. but that later. But first, that this material world is created in order to facilitate the desire for countless number of jivas who wish to do so, to enjoy separately from the Lord, to try to uh, imitate the Lord's independence and His own desire to uh, hmm, how to say, exploit the material energy, or rather, in the context of trying to imitate the Lord, yes, to try to be independent, to try to be in control, like this, to try to be the manipulators of one's own destiny. Uh, because that is Krishna. He is independent, he is unlimited, he is totally in control. There is no destiny or time or karma factor that can control him or dictate his life. Therefore, the jiva who is conditioned by the false ego, he is here trying to imitate that supreme independence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore this world is existing, and so much facility is given. We can see just within the last 50 to 60 years of the development of the world, all of the dozens and dozens of ways that the society is continuing to try to create wonderful ways to enjoy and be in control. Just like you've probably heard of virtual reality, which is literally just you get to create your own world and exist in this machine world. So in so many ways, whether it's in more innocent ways or in more gross ways, we are surrounded by this consciousness of trying to be the independent controller and enjoyer. So therefore, this world is running like this. So sometimes the conditioned soul feels, why is God putting me in this situation? Our impulse is to blame Him, to say, why is God doing this to me, etc., etc. And the how to say, the natural impulse is not to look at ourselves first when we are conditioned by the false ego. If we are having too much envy in the heart of God, then our conditioning is not to look at ourselves. Our conditioning is to blame either others around us or circumstances, etc. So many ways like this, we can recognize the faulty consciousness of the conditioned soul who is bewildered by the material energy. But actually, this whole show is running on our own selfish desires, as is explained in this Bhagavatam verse. So, says, as Srila Prabhupada says here explicitly, the Supreme Lord creates this world only because the conditioned souls want to enjoy it. So there's a moment of reckoning at some point where we look in the mirror and we realize that it's been our own fault all along. That is an interesting journey, especially when in the context of coming to God consciousness or adopting some sort of spiritual or religious practice. And at some point recognizing that actually it is me who has stepped away from Krishna, and that Krishna has always been there, extending himself in so many different forms. Even in this form, where he's literally giving us the opportunity to reject him. That is his renunciation, Sadashvarya Purna, one of his qualities. Even though, of course, it's not that he desires us to suffer. That's what it says. You do not desire the creation, maintenance, or annihilation of this world. The Lord doesn't desire the suffering of this jiva. Again, here it said so clearly. Supreme Personality of Godhead does not wish to create this material world just to inflict suffering on the living entities. So actually, Krishna has always been there as, what is that? Surit, the best friend of everyone, the well-wisher of everyone, who is always constantly trying to give us an opportunity to come closer to him. And so eventually we begin to, at least hopefully, change our perspective and recognize that actually Krishna has been our best friend all along. And of course, as Paramatma, within the heart, he is always there. He's always there, walking with us for our entire journey through the material world, through so many lifetimes. We can imagine at some lifetime we were, a fox, and he was there with us through the whole fox life. Pretty interesting to think about. And yet, he is unaffected by the material energy. He can exist throughout all of those lifetimes alongside us and not be affected by the material energy. This wonderful quality of the Lord. So, therefore, we can, when we think about it and we see the nature of truth and reality as is given in the Shastra, then we are able to start to understand the way things actually are. So this purport is really giving us a nice reset of a perspective, how things actually are, the nature of the existence of the material world, because there is so much suffering in this world that it is very easy to think that this surely must just be some arrangement for me to suffer. And so when we receive spiritual knowledge, we're able to broaden our understanding, our awareness, our intelligence becomes polished, and we're able to recognize things as they are. And that is, and then it becomes realized knowledge, not that it's just, of course, the philosophy itself already begins to change our perspective. But then when we understand that actually I'm in this world because of my own desire, etc., like this, then our heart begins to change. And so in this way, we begin to embody that knowledge and understanding. And that is also Krishna's mercy, that he gives us intelligence to be able to understand. And by purification of the heart, then we also become grateful and humble for the Lord's presence in so many ways, his arrangements for us, his all the different ways that he intervenes and steps into our life when we invite him to do so. Actually, there is a verse in I want to say Padyavali. It's in glorification of chanting the holy names. Yeah, I think it's Padyavali. And he says that even if someone chants, if somebody chants once, the Lord enters into their heart, and it says, even if they invited him by accident, they just chant, oh, what is this Hare Krishna? The Lord is there. So that is his character. So like this, we begin to understand more about the Lord and the nature of everything, and that also begins to change our perspective and change our heart. So, so this, you can say, addition of personality to the whole gambit of creation is being described here. That this whole material creation and karma and everything that is going on, the workings of all the different material energies, is not automatic. It is not without any design or any how to say, source or controller or designer, etc., like that, whatever word you want to use. If you like put in Google, what is the origin of like I did a search once to see like what do they say when you look about when the body dies, why does the body decay after death? And they have all sort of scientific excuses. Well, the oxygen and this and that and blah blah blah. How is it possible for the heart to beat? Well, and they say it's something really, I don't even know how they think of these things, but they say, well, at some point, some electric charge like creates, and that's what powers the heart to activate. And it's just like electricity. What is the source of the electricity? Well, basically, there are these cells and nerves that during pregnancy they activate. Well, how do they activate? Well, and they just keep going down the list of, all of these speculations as to the origin of life, because they don't want to acknowledge that there is a controller who is the source of everything, who is powering everything, who makes it possible for dead matter to become alive, so to speak. Right? That there is a jiva in all of the entities, the consciousness, etc., like this. So they don't like to think that there is some supreme controller who is in charge of everything. And we understand why there is an implication that a supreme controller and a supreme lord means, on the one hand, someone they must answer to for their activities in this world. It also means that if someone's in control, then that means naturally I am not in control. For the conditioned soul, of course, this is not desirable. What is the scientist? They want to be the controllers of their destiny, controllers of creation, controllers of the elements of the world. Therefore, God cannot be. God doesn't fit into that consciousness. Therefore, they want to believe that the whole material world is working without any oversight. It is simply just existing in all the minutia of detail that we observe around us. Just like I watched I think I was on an airplane or something. I watched some like nature documentary about a little small island off the coast of, I think, Miami. And it was basically this whole ecosystem, this whole just kind of contained ecosystem on this one little island. And it was describing all the different ways of symbiosis that were helping to maintain the animals and the trees and the waters and everything like that. So it was all description. One that I remember that stood out to me was that there are these, I believe, oak trees, which were spread out all around the island. And they were saying how, that's not normal. Oak trees don't grow like this. How's it? And also how all of those trees were then also supporting the ecosystem in so many ways. And how is it possible for these trees to grow all around this island, which is totally abnormal, and yet also perfect for the entire symbiosis of the environment? And basically what happens is there's a little bird who eats acorns. But what happens is when the winter is coming, throughout the year before winter, the bird picks acorns and buries them in the ground. And so sometimes it drops one, or it takes and flies somewhere else and buries it there, and it buries it all in different places. And it has photographic memory that it can remember exactly where it buried seeds. But of course, throughout the course of the year, they bury probably hundreds of seeds. And so naturally, they don't take all of them. And so those seeds that are buried grow into trees. So it's just like, how is that? How can that be random? It's just such a, it's like, how can that just be a random, and the fact that those trees that grow also have their own role in the ecosystem. Uh, how is it? How are these things possible? This is all the design of the Lord. By His will, all of these perfect ecosystems exist. Therefore, we hear Srila Prabhupada always talking about how if what is that? I can't remember the verse. I think it's in Ishopanishad that everybody should take what is their allotted uh, quota. Then everything will work in harmony. So Srila Prabhupada is always uh, uh, slamming on this point that actually everything is there. There is abundance. Everything is provided by nature. Food, milk, grains, everything is provided. Simply that we are too selfish. The material consciousness, and over time, as progression of Kali Yuga, that people have become selfish. Therefore, they drawing lines in the sand and say, "This is my country. That's your country. This is mine. This is." Like this, and therefore it's created havoc, and then therefore nobody is doing well, and everybody is in poverty to one degree or another. And so, because of the exploitation of the resources provided by the Supreme Lord, therefore there is this feeling of scarcity. Srila Prabhupada speaks often about this, that actually there is no scarcity, but simply that scarcity of God consciousness. Consciousness of the Lord's instructions, the Lord's arrangement, like this. So, when we observe nature, we can see how everything is set up perfectly. I saw a funny quote that said, humans are the only creatures on the entire planet who pay for their water." It was just funny. Like, we've created a whole society where we feel like such scarcity. So, like this, we can see that actually everything is there, but simply that we are, the society is chasing after so much, we all know, whatever it is, sense gratification, control, power, etc., wealth. And that's going to cause the complete imbalance. So when we align ourselves with the will of the Lord, then everything can be provided. So there's aligning ourselves with the will of the Lord in just doing our dharma. What to speak of then, and everything being provided in that way. Offering the fruits of our actions to the Lord, etc., like this. What to speak of devotional service, where we are directly becoming sheltered by the Lord, and He takes care of everything, not only materially, according to whatever it is that He desires for us, but He also makes all arrangements in order for us to come closer to Him, to where ultimately we don't require anymore to worry about sustenance, food, etc., because we will be within the eternal spiritual world, in a spiritual body that doesn't feel tired or sick, etc., etc. No anxiety. Vaikuntha. So, but as is described here, the beginning of becoming, you can say, civilized, is understanding that the Lord is in control. and that everything is moving according to his, what is that? That was quoted. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Everything is happening according to the Lord's energy. That is a fact. So, the everything that we see in this material world, the the creative impetus that makes everything in this world possible and real comes from the Supreme Lord. So therefore, as long as the scientists and atheists, etc., like this, feel that the Supreme Lord is not in control and that everything is independent, therefore they continue to commit sinful activities and create more and more and more sinful reactions for themselves. Therefore, they are likely to be punished in the hellish planets. So, if we simply can become conscious of the Lord, then our fortunes change greatly. And this last verse here is quite nice, where Bhumi Devi, these prayers are, these last, I think it's maybe 5 or 6 prayers, are being offered by personified Earth, Bhumi Devi. And she says, "You lifted me exactly as a sporting elephant plucks a lotus flower." So we are in the material quagmire, which feels so difficult, so complicated, so comprehensive in the ways that we are conditioned, whether it's through our own, adhyatmic, adibautic, adidaivik, in so many different ways. The difficulties are put on our path. What to speak of our own, purifying our own psychophysical nature. And it's only becoming more complex as time goes on. And so we feel, how do I get out? So the Supreme Lord is so compassionate and so merciful, and also desirous of our association, which is inconceivable. Because the Lord is the Supreme Lord, and we are like tiny little dots. And yet, He sees us in our original nature, and desires relationship with us. And by His own sweet will, He wishes to pick us up and pull us out of the entanglement, the trap of the material world. And He can do that so easily. What is that verse? It says how the whole material energy, when we're under the shelter of the Lord, shrinks to the size of water and the size of a calf's hoof print. So the whole complex material energy, which is so difficult, Mama Maya Duratya, Krishna says, my energy is very difficult to overcome. Very difficult to overcome. But if one takes shelter of me, then I can very easily lift that person. So she is expressing like this: "You lifted me." It was no difficulty for the Lord to lift. What is the Earth planet? We can see, to lift the Earth planet, but it was very easy for the Lord to lift her out of the ocean. So it's like in the same way, He can very easily lift us out of the ocean of material existence. Just like there's that painting, of the jiva who's in the ocean, like, with his arms out like this, and the Lord is reaching for him. So like this, similarly, he can lift us out, and He makes all arrangements to do so. On Sunday I read from the purport in the 8th canto, 3rd chapter, where it's described that Krishna is always trying to pull us out of the material world. And not only is he always, he never becomes complacent in that relationship with us. So it's a very wonderful thing. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, that also this material world is giving us the opportunity. That's something that, for the atheistic person who is envious of God, they can never understand this. And so it's a missed opportunity. The human life is wasted. Because human life is, what is that? Labdva sudurlabhamidam bahusambhavante manushyam artadam anityam apihadira. That this human form of life is extremely, extremely rare, even though it is temporary, anitya. We don't live for so long. Maximum 70, 80, now it's getting less and less. Lifetime is short, and yet we have a great, great, great opportunity that is very rare. Because in the human form of life, we have the chance, because we're given intelligence, the capacity to inquire into the absolute truth. And so all facility is given to be able to end the cycle of samsara forever, which is really, to really think about it, that if we attain perfection, we will never have to come back to this material world and be conditioned by Maya ever again. As Krishna says, one who comes to my abode never returns. Bhagavad Gita, he says like this. To really meditate, what does that mean? That this whole ordeal will be finished. It's inconceivable. But that is the opportunity that is given to every single jiva, actually. Who eventually, after transmigrating over millions and millions of species and forms of life, we come to the human form. And everyone is given equal opportunity. It's simply that we must decide to do it. Of course, if our karma is too heavy, sometimes we may not have the consciousness for it. But the human form of life is itself an opportunity for everyone in that way. Therefore, those of us who are following in the mood of Lord Chaitanya and his associates, that we're creating opportunity. If someone wouldn't have had an opportunity, then we give opportunity. Here, take the book, take some prasadam, come to the program. That is our duty as servants of Lord Chaitanya. Jai Shishi Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Jai Shishi Gaurnitai ki jai. That is what we are doing by opening temples, cooking prasadam, holding programs. Everything is we're giving everyone an opportunity, because we were given an opportunity, and in expression of our gratitude, we try to help others to also get an opportunity. That is our duty, our service, and also our means of attaining perfection, right? Harinam Sankirtan, to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya, is exactly our means of attaining perfection. So it's a very wonderful thing that simply by engaging in helping others in the way that we have been, that in and of itself is our abhideya as well, our process and path to perfection. And by dedicating our lives to that, then we can very easily be carried by the mercy of the Lord, by the mercy of Guru and Acharyas, like that. And so then it becomes very easy when we align ourselves in that way and engage ourselves and keep ourselves under the shelter of service and association. Then the Lord can simply just. So it's a wonderful thing. So, yeah, I will stop there. I'm getting a little bit scratchy in the throat. If there's any reflections or anything that comes to mind, otherwise we can. So yeah, this is thus end the Bhakti purpose of the 5th canto, 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled "Prayers Offered to the Lord by the Residents of Jambu Dweep," and then chapter 19, entitled "Description of the Island of Jambu Dweep." That's going to be fascinating. Oceans of mango juice and things like that. Anyways, Hare Krishna. Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
This example of this island ecosystem was really interesting.
Yeah, I was really blown away by that. It was really fascinating. Yeah, there were many more things, but that was what stood out to me the most, so I could still remember that. Okay. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.